Why does grief hurt so bad? Today, I want to talk with you again about why grief hurts so bad. And it's important for us to understand this. My name is Samuel Stewart, and I help people to live after a death. But my first experience with grief was back in 2000 when my mom died. This was the very first person that was close to me to make a transition. And since then, we've actually helped thousands of families to really honor the life of their loved ones in the best way and to grow through their grieving process. And not only have I helped other families, but I've gone through other grief experiences as well too. And today I want to share with you, why grief hurts so bad. So my mom transitioned in 2000. My dad transitioned in 2017, and then a dear friend of mine just transitioned just last year. But through these different experiences of grief, I've learned quite a bit, and even from helping the families and also working in this industry and working with funeral homes across the nation, we've learned quite a bit. And I want to share with you today why grief hurts so bad. And one of the first things I say that we have to understand is what grief is. Because if we don't have a good understanding of grief, we just are feeling this pain and we're not even sure why it's there. But that grief, that pain that we feel from grief essentially is a deep sorrow. A deep sorrow, and one of the causes of that deep sorrow is separation. To be separated from people that we love, to be separated from people that we used to being around, to be separated from people that we have created some wonderful memories with, but because they're no longer in our life, that separation causes us to have pain. Now, it's not just emotional pain, but it affects us emotionally, mentally. It can be physically as well too, because I know even with me, when I've had grief, I've actually felt it physically. And then also even within our body, there can be results of even some illnesses and disease because there's stress that's going on, even different chemicals that go through our body during time of grief because it's such a deep sadness, a deep sorrow. But again, the reason for it, or one of the big reasons for it, is because of that whole separation, that we're no longer around the people that we used to being around. Now, just keeping that in mind, that it's separation, we realize also, and I've seen for myself, that many people don't realize how many times they actually grieve. Because it's not only with the death of a loved one, which obviously, you're separated from them, but it can also be because you're separated from people that you're used to being around. So for instance, I'll give an example with myself. Our children, some of our children are older and out of the house now. So our sons, when they moved out, there was separation. And there was one in particular, I'll share with you one, because we're in New Jersey, but then we have one son that moved all the way down to Florida. And that was the first time we had a child leave to go so far away. And yes, I was happy for him because, as a parent, you want your child to grow. You want them to, go off on their own and to, use the training that you've taught them. However, I didn't realize, when that day came for him to leave, I really went through some deep sorrow, and it was a level of grief because I knew I couldn't. The times I had with him was no longer going to be the same like it was. We didn't have time to bond and to share in the same way we were doing it before. So it brought about a level of grief. So for yourself, it can be when you have family that you might have some separation, or even it could be something like a job that you're used to being amongst people, but you're no longer there. So there can be a level of grief from that. Then you can figure, actually, there were a group of people that we were around for about 25 years, our family. And I didn't realize, even after that, once we were no longer around them, that there was grief that affected me as well as my family that we had to recover from. It was almost like as if a death because it was painful, and it was something that we had to go through the process and work through and actually grow throughout that process as well. So grief happens more often than we think. So now how do we deal with that grief? And this is something that we can even see from the Bible, because the Bible gives us a reason for that hurt. It said from the beginning in the book of Genesis, it talks about man being created, and then God creates the woman for the man. But it said that God said first, it's not good for man to be alone. and he created the woman. So now it's not just in the form of an intimate or romantic relationship or husband and wife. It's also a community, to have a community of people around us, which is something that is natural, something that we actually need in order to really thrive, to be around other people. Because isolation is actually, it causes us to, in a grieving state, because we're separated from people, but we're supposed to be around other people. We're supposed to have friends. We're supposed to have family. We're supposed to have relationships like that. And when we're not, then it can be a point where we're going to grieve and be in some kind of a hurt, and it's going to be affecting our health overall, all levels of our health. So this is the reason why grief hurts so bad, because we were meant to be around other people. So now with this in mind, it actually gives us part of even some of the solution that we can gather from reading, that, you know, even though a loved one might be gone and they may no longer be around, there's still an opportunity for us to maybe even build new relationships and actually like bridge to new relationships. And it's not to say that we want to forget or even replace what was there with the relationships that we had in the past, but by building new relationships now, we can actually start to get new connections and help to grow through that grieving process. So relationships is of utmost importance. It's a reason for us to grieve because there's a separation, but it can also be the reason for us to heal as well too, and forming some really good bonds of relationship. So that's what I want to share with you today. I'm going to be sharing some more with you as we share the growing through grief. My name again is Samuel Stewart, and I help people to live after a death.